Somehow, just somehow, the fight over feminism, Star Wars, and Disney has reached a new level. It's a dumber level, but it still checks out.
The following is a world-class Bullshitters exclusive.
It's the modern era, and it's incredibly difficult to separate entertainment from politics. It's like kibbles and bits, only different. From comic books to late-night talk shows to movies, we cannot avoid being bombarded with the maker's politics. Of course, entertainment has always had deeper meaning. It's always meant something. It can be an allegory for current societal tensions like Arthur Miller's The Crucible, or The Twilight Zone with its many allegorical episodes that still remain poignant over 60 years later. It's asinine to assume that art lacks deeper meaning. But what is equally asinine is the amount of political rhetoric that's spewed every time a new geek, nerd, sci-fi, or fantasy project is announced or a classic one is revived. The creators of today think they're smarter than you are, and they take every chance to try and rub it in your face. To treat people equally is right, but to elevate some on a platform while deriding the rest because they don't buy into that blind cult is beyond dumb, and some of that stupidity is seeping through again. Last week, the director of the upcoming Star Wars film featuring Rey Skywalker, said a few choice things that lit up the internet.
I like to make men uncomfortable. I enjoy making men uncomfortable. But, it is important to be able to look into the eyes of a man and say, I am here, and recognize that. And recognize that I am working to bring something that makes you uncomfortable, and it should make you uncomfortable because you need to change your attitude.
First, she claimed that her Star Wars film will be the first one shaped by a woman's voice. The second was that she likes to make men uncomfortable. As millions decided to stay comfortable and stay home, an old voice spoke up to try and shame men into silence. The Shills are striking back, and they're striking hard. It would be threatening if not so funny. But before we get into that Shill smackdown, today's video is brought to you by me, Jeff Hicks, and my graphic novel, Stealing Solo. Stealing Solo asks the greatest what-if question of all time. What if a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement? That, and a whole lot more, is answered in Stealing Solo, a Captain's Parody. Stealing Solo has been called Laugh Out Loud Funny and the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs, and it's available now for a limited time only. Go to stealingsolo.com, which is powered by Shopify, so you get the reward-winning safety and security, and get yourselves a copy today. Once we sell through this limited backstock, I'm going back to the drawing board to bring you the sequel, which parodies Luke Skywalker's fall from grace, and finally the closing chapter, which I can't wait to get to, Frankenfisher, the Bride of Solo. And yes, it's exactly what you think it is. So folks, the only way to get that is go to stealingsolo.com right now, get yourselves a copy, and enjoy the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs. We're over a year away from Charmaine Obeid-Chinoy's new Star Wars film, but the hype train has been fueled up and it's leaving the station. The hype train doesn't run on diesel, coal, solar, vibranium, unobtainium, or unleaded. The hype train is fueled by white lies, company money, and hot air. One of the most recent hot air bags to empty its soul into the hype train is John Rocka. John is an internet personality. Well, he sorta lacks a personality outside of anger. He's like Rocky Balboa minus the heart, charm, charisma, or boxing ability. But like Rocky, his words don't come out right. He's what they call punchy. And after this newest outburst, a lot of people online are questioning just how many shots to the head this guy's taken. If you haven't heard this jabroni, he used to be a regular contributor on movie fights and those sort of associated shows. Since that whole thing collapsed after a bunch of BS that wasn't even world class, Rocka has decided to move on and do his own thing in the process. Just a few days ago during a live stream, John had a meltdown over Star Wars. Yes, Star Wars. For the last few years, Star Wars has had a bit of a problem. The lady at the top has really bad taste and hires all these bad filmmakers to helm Star Wars projects. Even the good filmmakers she's hired have shit the bed because they have to work under her constraints. One thing all of these Star Wars filmmakers have in common is their penchant for saying stupid things publicly. After last week's comments about wanting to scare men, the conductor of the Shill train, John Rocka, leaped to Lucasfilm's defense, and instead of trying to paraphrase, let's just hear what he said.
I swear to God, men, reach down into your pants, find your fucking balls and your cock, and be okay with it. We can take a woman directing a film in Star Wars and live. We're all gonna fucking survive. I swear to God, you guys want to come off like you're tough motherfuckers, and you're a bunch of wusses. Finally, a woman gets to direct a theatrical feature in Star Wars with Rey, with other women leading the way. And there's nothing fucking wrong with that.
That's the real thing, though, John. No one has an issue with women doing anything. Of all the important achievements women can achieve, directing Star Wars shouldn't be at the top of the list. It happening isn't a big deal. You're intentionally missing the point to further yours. People aren't angry that a woman is directing Star Wars, they're dreading taking Star Wars and turning it into a talking to men, when in reality, her issues with men stem from her cultural upbringing in another country, and they don't reflect a majority of the people or the world that watches Star Wars. Studios will cut out things to sell a movie to China, so why stuff a movie full of this woman's beef with men and release it in a country where the things she's fighting against don't really happen in the same way? Star Wars has always had a strong female presence. They may not be directing, but women have always led the story in Star Wars. Princess Leia, Mon Mothma, Padme were all leaders, and 2 of them fighters. The people today only want quantity, not quality. They don't realize that a few great characters outweigh a quota. Look at all the Jedi in Episode 2. They're cool, they have lightsabers, they have women in the ranks, and outside of their superficial traits, they're nothing. Padme, on the other hand, can fight. But she has duties as a politician, and is conflicted by her feelings for Anakin and her loyalty to the Senate. There's something there. She stands above most other characters. The delusional people today think that because she's not the lead, she's being oppressed. There's this myth online that we all hate each other. That's not the case. It's not even true that all men on the internet hate women or are afraid of them. That's just BS, and again, not world class. People have issues with the extreme ideology and politics of these renegade filmmakers and that the fact that they want to bring it to Star Wars. Star Wars isn't a place for this. Marvel movies are not a place for this. Nothing from Disney is the right vessel for these politics. These are properties for all ages, all races, and all voters. It's not Star Wars or your place to tell us how to think or behave. This woman has Oscars for that kind of filmmaking. Keep it there. Star Wars is supposed to be fun. It's supposed to hit us on a deeper level. Destiny doesn't have a gender. Luke Skywalker has one, but his struggle is relatable to both. Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy's films are about women in the Middle East who face oppression. The only oppression in Star Wars should be that of the Empire. That's the real issue. Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy is a square peg and Star Wars is a round hole. The other way would be funnier, but I'm trying to make a point, not a pointed joke. When Rocka acts oblivious to this, you know he's only doing it for attention. And here it is. His actions defeat what they're ultimately trying to achieve: acceptance. It's 2024. People aren't as backwards as you think. What good does it do to attack people who aren't thrilled by this lady making Star Wars? It only turns them off to women making Star Wars, and then you have a point. It's almost like a self-fulfilling prophecy. According to Forbes, Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy's quotes are from 2016. That's important to note. But can a zebra change its stripes? Nearly a decade ago, Kathleen Kennedy was a speaker at a Fortune event talking about how she wanted to make Star Wars appeal to girls and her plans to do so. 9 years on, and she's still going on about it. Is it a stretch that Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy will do the same thing? She's only made one type of film, so why think it would be any different? It'll be an allegory for her trauma in a Star Wars wrapper. Why should fans have to suffer through that? Go to a therapist. We're not your doctor. Why does Star Wars think its films are vehicles for social change? Art has a deeper meaning, but why does the deeper meaning have to outweigh the universal appeal and story of Star Wars? There's a reason millions of people have gravitated towards it, but there's a reason why they're leaving it right now. And this is it. People aren't opposed to women directing Star Wars, they just don't want this one to make it about her struggle. Why her? Why is it relevant to us? Why are we supposed to take a look in the mirror after watching Star Wars? We're supposed to leave happy and buy another ticket. Kathleen Kennedy isn't known for corralling these rampant filmmakers, except the ones everyone liked. Based on what's been released, expect this one to be coarse and rough and irritating. And let's be honest, it already is. Rocka's comments on the situation are the same that everyone looking for an invite has. A few years ago, fellow Movie Fights contributor Christian Harloff had a meltdown over not being invited to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. This is that group of people. I'd love to invite John on to talk about this, but I already know what he'll say. Nothing. John, the passion is there, but it's misdirected. One final thing. Let me correct you, John. A woman has directed a theatrical Star Wars film that features Rey and other strong female characters. It was called The Last Jedi, and her name was Rian Johnson. So folks, what do you think about this? We're year plus out of this movie, and we're already talking about this sort of stuff. Back in the day, this was the stuff reserved for the last 3 months of build to a film, after the trailer had been out, after images, after everything. But for some reason, this is what's starting right now. Isn't it great? Isn't it wonderful? Isn't it exciting to know what the future holds? This is what it's like to be Nostradamus, and the future is all crap. Excellent. But like I said a moment ago, the clip of Charmaine Obaid-Chinoy talking about making men uncomfortable is from a few years back. But her quote about shaping Star Wars with a female voice and being the first one to do so is brand new. So you know this lady's off the reservation. Very, very far off the reservation. So is it a stretch to assume that her film will be full of this? Look, last year when people said that Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny would feature an obnoxious female lead that would usurp Indiana Jones and be annoying, they were called sexist. They couldn't know these things, but at the end of the day, they were right. Helena Shaw was the most annoying character of the film. She wanted to put Indiana Jones in his place. It's the Kathleen Kennedy directive. I hate these people, so I'm gonna take their heroes and make them subservient to my heroes.
Put a chick in it, make her gay!
That's so petty that Tom, Laurie, and Richard are rolling their eyes at you, Kathleen Kennedy. Some of them are no longer with us. So you can understand exactly how annoying this is. Look, at the end of the day, we just want movies. We just want to have fun. More people would rather watch a film that's a good time than something that's going to beat them over the head with ideals. And it really only comes from one studio. We keep saying it all the time, but they're the one studio that does it, and they don't stop. It's a losing strategy. It loses your audience, it loses you money, it loses everything. What is the purpose? There is none. But hey, it makes for good YouTube content and a lot of laughs. So folks, I want to know what you think about this situation. Let me know down in the comments below. And what do you think of the Shill people? Is John Rocka a shill? I don't know. I know him from movie fights. I know other people are shills. I don't really follow John as closely, so I don't know. But when he said crap like this, it popped up on my radar. And when you show up on my radar, I'm going to talk about it. So folks, thank you for watching. Friends, if you want some funny Star Wars related content that's a parody of Star Wars that's actually funny, unlike the Disney stuff, well then go over to stealingsolo.com right now and get yourselves a copy of the greatest Star Wars parody since Spaceballs. It takes a group of disgruntled Star Wars fans and follows them as they kidnap Harrison Ford and force him to remake Star Wars in their basement after the disappointment of Episode 7, The Force Awakens. So if that sounds like a comic right down your alley, then folks, go to stealingsolo.com and get yourself a copy of that graphic novel. It's been called Laugh Out Loud Funny, and some big names are taking notice of the book right now. And so folks, go ahead and read Stealing Solo right now, but get ready for Wokebusters. If you like to poke fun at the society that we live in today, well then Wokebusters is the perfect book for you. The Wokebusters are here to save society from itself. So folks, we will have more information in the coming weeks about Wokebusters, but get ready, that'll be out close to the time that the new Ghostbusters movie drops. So until then folks, well, you don't have to wait until then. I'll be back next time with more. Next time is going to be a lot sooner. Join me tomorrow night at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for some fun guests on the High Council. And folks, we've been mapping out this year's content. We got a lot of exciting things for 2024. They say 2024 is the year of the dragon. Well, I say 2024 is the year of the bullshitter. Let's go to the top, folks. World class all the way. So until then, folks, be smart, be safe, be cool, but always be excellent to each other. Thanks for watching today's video. Yes, it's over, but don't cry because there's more, a lot more from World Class Bullshitters. And there's only one way to get it. Hit that subscribe button below. When you do that, you'll get notifications and updates from World Class Bullshitters every time we go live. Basically, you won't miss anything. And if there's one thing I hate, it's FOMO. But the thing most people hate more than FOMO is fear of missing out on World Class Bullshitters, because there's just some things you can't undo. So folks, do yourselves a favor and never miss anything from World Class Bullshitters. One last thing before you go, hit the thumbs up button. Not for our egos, no, they're big enough as this, but it does help us fight the algorithm here, and well, it's man versus machine, and that's the real fight. But if that's not your battle, that's okay. There's one last way you can help WCBS, and that's going over to shopwcbs.com, picking up a t-shirt, a beer glass, a sweatshirt, a poster, all sorts of ways to back WCBS. The difference between us and other YouTube channels is I'm the artist that makes all this stuff, so if you enjoy art beyond t-shirts, you can even read our comic books. We got it all. We're called the epitome of pop culture for a reason, and no, again, it's not for our egos. So folks, make sure you're involved with every aspect of World Class Bullshitters, not just for us, but do it for yourself. We're making the change in entertainment everybody out there wants to see. And a special thank you goes out to all of our wonderful patrons who make this content possible. Go to patreon.com/worldclassbs to get involved and help out the channel.